So recruiting, obviously in the league, you were known as a great recruiter. So what is your recruiting approach? So if you're sitting down with me, I'm somebody you really want me on the team. What's your approach to recruit me?
You want first place, come play with me. You want second place, go somewhere else. The projects that say, I don't know if I can animate that. I don't know how to write that story. I don't know how to do that. Those are the things we want, because through that curiosity, you'll reach a level that you didn't think was possible. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm there for, is for them to constantly look in the mirror and self-assess and challenge themselves. If we have a project and you're saying, okay, I can do that, that's not the project we want.
My parents were great. Growing up, they instilled in me the importance of imagination, of curiosity, and understanding that, okay, if you want to accomplish something, I'm not just going to sit here and say, yes, you can do whatever you want. Mm. Yes, you can, but you have to also put in the work to get there, right?
There are things in story, inherently in story, that can help me be a better basketball player, be a better teammate, a better leader, understand emotions better. So that's why I got into it, into storytelling actually. So just insanely curious, man. And trivial things weren't going to pull my attention. I had a purpose. I wanted to be one of the best basketball players to ever play. And anything else that was outside of that lane, I didn't have time for.
I had a summer where I played basketball when I was like 10 or 11 years old in a very prominent summer league in Philadelphia called the Sunny Hill League. And here I come playing, and I don't score 1 point the entire summer.
Really?
Not one.
How old were you?
10, 11.
How did you not score?
Because I was terrible. I remember crying about it and being upset about it. And my father just gave me a hug and said, listen, whether you score 0 or score 60, I'm going to love you no matter what.
Wow.
Now that is the most important thing that you can say to a child. Because from there, I was like, okay, that gives me all the confidence in the world to fail. I have the security there. But to hell with that, I'm scoring 60. And there I just went to work. I stayed with it, and I kept practicing. I think that's when the idea of understanding a long-term view became important, because I wasn't going to catch these kids in a week. I wasn't going to catch them in a year, right? So that's when I sat down and said, okay, this is going to take some thought, all right? What do I want to work on first? All right, shooting. All right, let's knock this out. Let's focus on this. Half a year, 6 months, do nothing but shoot. Started creating a menu of things. And the summer came back. Next summer, I was a little better. I scored.
Yeah.
It wasn't much,
right,
but I scored. And then 14 came around, back half of 13, 14 years old, and then I was just killing everyone. What I had to do was work on the basics and the fundamentals. Well, they relied on their athleticism and their natural ability. And because I stick to the fundamentals, it just caught up to them.
And where did inspiration come from?
The love of the game. The love of the game, the challenge. Like I would watch Magic play, I'd watch Michael play, and I would see them do these unbelievable things, and I'd say, can I get to that level? I don't know, but let's find out. And so that curiosity to see where I could push this thing led me down that path.
Now, were you always competitive from the day you were born? You were super competitive?
Competitive with things that I participate in. So at 13 years old, I had a kill list. They used to do these rankings. It was Street and Smith basketball rankings. And I was nowhere to be found because I was like 6'4", scrawny, like 160 pounds soaking wet. So I was like 57 on the list. And so I would look at 56, 55, all the way up to number 1, who these players are, what club teams they played for. So when we go on an AAU travel circuit, I got to hunt them down, right? And so that became my mission in high school. And when I'd play to my weaknesses. I wouldn't play to my strengths. I played to my weaknesses. Because when you're playing summer basketball, there's so many games. So there's not a lot of skill work being done. So when are you going to get better, right? When you're playing in competition situations, you're only playing to your strengths. Why? Because you want to win, right? So what I would do, I was work on the things during those games that I was weak at. Left hand, pull-up jump shot, post game, right? So I have a strategy. And so then fast forward to when I'm 17 and my game is completely well-rounded, and that player at 13 that I saw at 13 is still doing the same at 17, now you got a problem.
That's right.
You got a problem. Basketball for me was the most important thing. So everything I saw, whether it was TV shows, whether it was books I read, people I talked to, everything was done to try to learn how to become a better basketball player. Everything. And so when you have that point of view, then literally the world becomes your library to help you to become better at your craft, because you know what you're looking for.
If I'm buddies with you from high school, if I'm a cousin of yours, what happened to our relationship?
Oh, it suffers. And the people that love you, like friends and family, like they know that about you. So they let you be you. And when you reconvene, you know, you pick back up where you left off. But make no mistake about it, everything in between is lost. Like I see a lot of players take vacations with other players that are close friends. And they'll just take vacations just to take vacations, or just hang out just to hang out. Like I never did that. Because when I retire, I didn't want to have to say, I wish I would have done more. I don't want that. But I found in the NBA is a lot of guys played for financial stability. And when they came to the NBA, they got that financial stability. So therefore the passion and the work ethic and the obsessiveness was gone. So I'm looking at that, I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna be like taking candy from a baby. No wonder Mike wins all these championships. It's like, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? And then you had the players that had that passion, but weren't willing to commit their entire lives to doing that, right? It's a choice, right? You have other things, you have family, you have all these other things that you have to do.
Who were some of the guys that you saw and you watched that weren't just driven by the money?
But at the time, I deal with what I've referred to as GOAT Mountain. Magic, Michael, Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, Jerry West, Oscar Robinson, Bill Russell. You know, so I would talk to them. What did you do? What were your experiences? Michael in particular, he's become my big brother. So I went to them and started understanding the ins and outs of the game, and you know how they approach things and their level of detail and obsessiveness. And
what was really your work ethic like, and for how long did you stay disciplined?
I mean, every day. I mean, since 20 years. I mean, it was an everyday process and trying to figure out strengths and weaknesses. So I had to rely on skill a lot more. I had to rely on angles a lot more. I had to study the game a lot more. And but I enjoyed it though. So like from the time I can remember when I started watching the game, I studied the game, and it just never changed.
You go up, you're about to take your shot, and then all of a sudden, boom, Achilles happens. He says, I have no clue how the hell this guy did it. He went and hit the free throws, and then you walked off the stage. How the hell do you tolerate that kind of pain?
I think this is the best way to explain it. You have a hamstring injury, you pull your hamstring really, really badly, you can barely walk. You're at home, all of a sudden a fire breaks out in the home. I'm willing to bet that you're gonna forget about your hamstring, you're gonna sprint upstairs, you're gonna grab your kids, you're gonna make sure your wife's good, you're getting out of that house, right? Hamstring be damned. You're not gonna feel your hamstring, right? And the reason is because the lives of your family are more important than the injury of your hamstring. And so when the game is more important than the injury itself, you don't feel that damn injury. Not at that time.
But you go into the locker room. Then one of the reporters says, but if anyone is gonna get through this, it's probably you, right? You put your head down and you say, oh man, shit, right? And you have tears in your eyes.
Yeah.
What were you thinking at that moment with all that pressure?
I was thinking like, I don't know if I can do this. Dude,
wow.
Achilles were like the kiss of death.
Yes.
Athletes. Like,
yes.
I don't know if I can do this.
You don't know if you want to do it, or you don't know if you are gonna be able to come back from it.
Both.
Oh,
like,
both.
I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I want to do it.
Got it.
When I went in the trainer's room, my kids are in there, and they're looking at you and stuff, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, it's all right. Dad's gonna be all right. It'll be fine. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. As a parent, you gotta set the example. This is another obstacle. This obstacle cannot define me. It's not gonna cripple me. It's not gonna be responsible for me stepping away for the game that I love. I'm gonna step away on my own terms. As parents, you gotta lead by example. If you want your kids to do whatever it is they want to accomplish in life, you You have to show them, and that's what I tried to do.
What is the conversational life like with your wife and kids to say, listen, this is what I'm doing? How did that conversation go?
The communication with our children is that, Pops is working hard. This is the level of attention to detail you need to have in everything you do. So it's setting the example. And then for my wife, it's, she's as competitive as I am. So she's just like, listen, man, if you're gonna be out here training 8 hours a day, if you're gonna spend 9 months out of the year away from your family, you better win the championship. What are we doing this for?
If you're looking at somebody to go into business with, or if you're looking at a big investments you gotta make, what is the decision-making process there?
Pretty simple for me. It's do you understand the business? Is it a business that you can help in some form or fashion? Right? Do they have a culture that you believe is sustainable? Are these leaders people that you believe in? Are they people that are obsessives? And in turn, have they created a culture of obsessiveness?
And when you're in this culture in our society, you can do some phenomenal things individually, but they'll never reach their full potential unless you do them collectively.
Okay, I shot 5 air balls on national TV in front of millions of people that cost us a series. I'm fine, dude.
How did you get mentally and emotionally so strong where it doesn't bother you?
You got to look at the reality of the situation. Like for me, it's not, you kind of got to get over yourself. Like, it's not about you, man. Like, okay, you feel embarrassed. You're not that important. Get over yourself.
That's where you go.
Get over yourself. And then after that, it's okay, well, why did those air balls happen? So I look at it with rationale and say, okay, well, the reason why I shot air balls is because my legs aren't there. I go, well, next year they'll be there. You got a lot of people paying their hard-earned money to come watch you perform. Perform. It's your job to be in shape. It's your job to be strong enough to perform at that level every single night. And as a competitor, I'm not ducking. We had a game against Toronto in 2000, and Vince was tearing the league up. My back was jacked. But people will be like, what? Oh, he's ducking Vince. Excuse me? No, I don't think so. There's a lot of days where you can rest and recover. Today ain't one of them. Your back can bother you any other day. That ain't bothering me today. He gonna have to see me today.
I saw on Instagram that you're up at like 4 a.m. lifting by yourself in the dark. Why still wake up that early and train at this level in your life right now?
So for me, it was like, okay, I want to aim for size. I want to aim for bulk. But then also, it's my children, because your kids can't see how hard you work. You go to the office, I come in the studio, they don't really see the effort, right? So how can we teach our children what it means to work hard? Well, you do it through training, right? So when I get up in the morning, my daughter goes with me. Through that process, she understands the value of hard work and things taking time. One of my English teachers at Lower Merion named Mr. Fisk, he had a great quote that said, rest at the end, not in the middle. And that's something I always live by. I'm not gonna rest, I'm gonna keep on pushing now. There are a lot of answers that I don't have, even questions that I don't have. But I'm just gonna keep going. I'm just gonna keep going, and I'll figure these things out as we go.
When I started learning about storytelling, writing, how to structure a story, how to thread together a narrative that has a bigger message, how to create compelling characters, how to take some of the emotions from my own journey and instill them into characters that inspire or teach the next generation. Therefore, they can avoid some of the pitfalls and landmines that I had to go through. Right? That's something I'm extremely passionate about. So I loved it. So it wasn't a matter of, man, I gotta put this aside, I gotta move on to something else. I was excited. I can't wait to get started. I can't wait to move on and do something else. And and then my competitiveness inside was like, no, I'm gonna do something in the next 20 years that is better than these last 20. You might not understand that. I'm doing that, So the competitiveness kicks in.
I think the definition of greatness is to inspire the people next to you. I think that's what greatness is or should be. It's not something that lives and dies with one person. It's how can you inspire a person to then in turn inspire another person that then inspires another person. And that's how you create something that I think lasts forever. Yeah. And I think that's our challenge as people, is to is to figure out how our story can impact others and motivate them in a way to create their own greatness.